These awesome retro Philips tapes from the 60s really wanted to be on video, so let's do this. First of all, if you hear a whining sound in the background, I'm very sorry, that is my film digitizer doing its job for a whole new YouTube channel. More on that later. Now, I am aware these are not actually the first tapes Philips made, but the first one are rare as hen's teeth, so we're sticking with the first model that is readily available, and I have 3 of them. This is a C60, and at the back it tells you you can buy the tapes for 25 guilders, which is these days about $12. Very expensive, especially back in the 60s, so these tapes were not cheap, but are they any good? Let's see. So this C60 looks in great shape. It has nothing on it. I was sort of expecting really cool old recordings, but they appear to be unused, which, as you will see in a second, may not be the case, because there is actually some writing on the box, but there's a perfectly homogeneous hiss to the tape, and nothing indicates that they may have been recorded at some point. No writing on the tape itself, but there you go. It says pipe wrench in Dutch, and that's literally all it says. There's no stickers with these tapes. You are supposed to write on the tape itself. And I love the retro artwork. At the bottom it tells you how much music you can expect from a 60-minute tape. Then there's another one, and the reason I use 2 is because, well, these are old and I don't know what shape they're in, so having a reference for 2 tapes seems sensible. This one's exactly the same as the other one, has the same sticker on the back even though it is in slightly rougher shape, and it also has some writing on the inside. The tape itself looks great, maybe even better than the other one, but this one is rewound on side B, indicating use. But again, nothing, absolutely nothing is on the tapes, they sound perfectly blank. This one had a little more writing on it. It says Open Carnival. Open is a town and Carnival is, as you may expect, a carnival that happens every year here around February, late February, early March. Not something I enjoy particularly, but the music, especially in this region, is extremely popular. And then there's the old one out, a 120-minute tape. Exactly the same tape otherwise, but obviously thinner because it needs to fit the case, like the cassette. And these must have been a pain in the ass back in the day with how unsubtle the mechanisms were. As you can see, the Philips C120 cassette gives you 120 2x60 minutes of playing time, which is a lot, let's be honest. So very thin tape, a very full cassette case, slightly different colors going on to indicate that this is something special. And this tape too looks in absolutely new shape. Now I don't expect too much from this one because it's so thin, but I figured I would give it a shot anyway. A lot of writing on this one, can't read it all, but it says stereo, and then it says Heineken beer, sing-alongs, and then on the right it says Globetrotters, and the rest is scratched out. It's a bit messy, but I'm happy to see that the tape is in great shape otherwise. Now let's have a little recording on them and let's see how they sound. We're going to start with the C60, and then the other C60, and then the 120. And then it's time for listening. And of course I already heard them when I digitized them, but I just gave them a proper listen through headphones. And I did give you my live response, but there was a major issue with the audio. So we're redoing this. This is take 2. And I'm going to tell you what I just already told you, but now you can actually hear me without annoying background buzz and hiss. I was surprised. The first one, which is the C61 with the good looking sticker, this one, actually sounded pretty good. It definitely has severely rolled off highs. I know there's supposed to be more highs, but if I hadn't heard the original recording right before it, I would have been like, this is fine. They handle up to about 0 dBs, which is what I recorded them all at. I had to crank the bias to get some highs out of them. But if you have a deck with an adjustable bias, like I do, this is recorded with the IY80F810 that you just saw in the video, these actually don't sound so bad. The low end is really good, like as good as a proper Faro tape from like the 90s, like the TDK-80X or ARX. It's some really nice, deep, round, full low end that I associate with quite upmarket tape, so they got that right. The mid is great. The mid-range is really defined and really transparent, and you know, there's a lot of attack as well to the instruments. Really nice. It's just the highs are lacking, but they're pleasant. If you recorded some old 60s music on this, or if you recorded like old reggae onto it, you wouldn't miss a thing. Same really goes for the second one, of course. It's in a similar shape, but this one definitely had a bit more of a life. It has some dropouts, and that would make it only usable for, you know, speech recording or really old shitty recordings like 78 RPMs or whatever, although I know they can also sound really good. And then there was the 120-minute tape, the one I fully expected to be way worse, and it was worse. You can even see from the waveform. I recorded them all at the same level, up to 0 dBs, but it's a lot quieter. It lacks the depth of the low end, and the mids are a bit less defined. But other than that, it's still an enjoyable tape. Again, if you recorded some old recording onto this one, no one would notice anything. And what really stands out is that I could record and play them back without ever having to clean the heads on my machine. I expect these tapes to be, you know, a bit sheddy and a bit powdery, and that my heads would fill up and that I would have to clean them between tapes, but no, nothing like that. So these are actually still very usable in 2024. Just don't make serious recordings on them. But if you want to have like a nice retro tape to play in a nice retro cassette recorder from the 60s, these actually can still perform quite well. Way better than people who don't use tape regularly think tapes sound. And if you actually know your tapes, you know there's quite a lot lacking, but it's a very pleasant experience, and it's just really cool to have these super old tapes, completely original. I'd like to open it, but I'm also holding coffee. Wait, completely original. They don't open very easily for some reason, and you don't even have to take the tape out to use them. You can just use them as Philips intended. That is pretty damn awesome. And with that, I wish you a lovely day. See you next time.